There is only one you, and that is your superpower. You can't F that up. However, you can get stuck. That's why I created this space called Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons. Unstuck Yourself is about figuring out what has you feeling frustrated, isolated, or depleted of energy so that you're able to unstuck yourself on your journey through life when you don't know how to move forward. Unstuck yourself in your career that no longer excites and challenges you. Unstuck yourself with negative thoughts that seem to be doing cartwheels in your head consistently. I don't have the answers. You do. You always have. I'm providing the time, space, and grace for you to reconnect to that knowing. I'm Crystal Simmons, coach, speaker, and facilitator, and I'm grateful you made it here. Let's begin to unstuck yourself. Listen, today's guest is getting all her accolades, and I'm so happy to be able to provide this space for her. Dr. Jereka Thomas-Hockaday, who is a licensed surgical assistant, dean of specialty programs at Central Texas Health Institute. Jereka, Dr. Jereka was born in Baytown, Texas. She received her Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Sciences from Texas State University, San Marcos, both master's and doctorate degrees from Capella University. Over her 20-year career in healthcare, Jereka has worked as an emergency room technician, surgical technologist, a surgical assistant in various hospitals in the Austin area. In 2011, Jereka accepted a position as a surgical technology instructor at the newly opened Brown Mackie College, San Antonio. During her tenure, she served as an instructor, clinical coordinator, and acting department chair. In 2015, Jereka completed an advanced certificate in surgical assisting from Meridian Institute of Surgical Assisting in Nashville, Tennessee. Jereka was then invited to become a partner and managing director at River City Assistant LLC Surgical Assisting Group. In this capacity, Jereka managed 6 employees. The group provided surgical assisting services for 15 surgeons in Austin, the areas of general orthopedics, OBGYN, plastics, ENT, and brain spine surgery. Come on, y'all. She is now co-founder of the Central Texas Allied Health Institute, a new institution of higher learning that seeks to bring allied healthcare training to individuals in vulnerable communities who have not historically had access to these types of training programs. She and the team of the campus are featured on the 6th season of Queer Eye for their work running a Travis County sponsored COVID testing and vaccination clinic in East Austin. She opened that clinic during the pandemic. Mic drop. If you haven't seen that episode, go watch it now. Season 6 on Netflix. Jereka and her husband, William, also known as Ben Hockaday, live in rural South Travis County with their 3-year-old son, Carter Thomas, and their dog, Chula. Servant leadership and public service is family legacy, as Ben is a career federal employee at the Veterans Administration. Here, Jereka and I share more and laugh a lot. I can't wait. Listen now. Hello, peeps. It's Crystal. The purpose of the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast is to not only highlight my personal moments and experiences of being stuck, but also to create a space and community for others to share their voices, their stories and experience in multitude of ways to inspire each of you who are listening to know that your story, your voice, and your experiences are just as important and should be shared as well in whatever way you see fit for yourself. Before we dive into the awesomeness of what you are currently doing and creating, Jereka, please let the peeps know about little Jereka that paved the way for the Jereka that sits before me today.
Well, little Jereka, I don't know if I've ever been little Jereka.
Ooh, say more about that.
I don't think I've ever been little Jereka. I've always been like the center of my family and the center of my friend circle and, that type of thing. So I've never had a little voice. My mother used to say all the time that she was scared to take me out when I was a kid because she never knew what I was going to say in front of everybody. So I love it. I've been raising canes for a long time. I grew up in Baytown, Texas, or the oil capital of the world. I literally grew up across the street from ExxonMobil's headquarters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my father was a construction worker and oil worker. My mom taught special ed. And when I was 13, my father was diagnosed with lung cancer, as we talked about in that episode.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years with him with that battle. And unfortunately, in 96, when around a couple of months after my 16th birthday, he passed. He succumbed to it because it had spread into his brain. And he didn't want to continue any treatment. Cancer treatment is very hard on folks. Yeah. And he said he wanted to finish his last days with us, with his kids, and be peaceful and happy and not be running back and forth to treatments. I think he was just tired, I think he was just tired. He definitely had a large voice too. I think that's where I get it from. But during that time, I discovered healthcare because I was around so many of the folks in the hospital with him, going back and forth and that type of thing. And I just, like, you find yourself in a space and you're like, this is where I'm supposed to be. That's definitely how I felt. I enjoyed learning all of the stuff. I mean, it wasn't a great situation to be in, but I really learned a lot about healthcare and how many people it actually takes to take care of one patient.
Yeah.
And the work that you do and the emotional toll it takes on the workers. Like I saw that very upfront and center at a very young age. And after that, I was hooked. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went through a program in high school where I received my patient care technician certificate when I got out, and I started working. I worked in the emergency room for a couple of years, and I decided that's not what I wanted to do.
It is real in the ER. It is real.
Yes. My partner, Mr. Hamilton, Todd, that was in the episode, he was an emergency room tech as well. He loved it. And there's a certain type of energy that you have to have to be an emergency room worker. And he has it, and he displays it every day, and it makes me tired. So I learned about what they call a surgical technologist. That's an operating room technician. That's what they used to call it back in the day. So I went through a program and got my certificate in that, and I became a surgical technologist, and it was perfect. It was perfect. For people who don't know what that is the person that sets up all the instrumentation, sets up the room, and passes the instrumentation to the surgeon during the case. So when you see Grey's Anatomy and you see him screaming at the person next to him, help out, that was me. It was not an easy job, but it was the best job I ever had. It started me on the course of where I am now. I later started teaching. I was over a program in San Antonio at a career college. That's how I got my start in career education. I always had the teaching gene in me because my mom was a teacher. And anytime they would bring folks in to train, I was always training somebody. So I felt at one point, this is what I probably should be doing. And I went to the school. I answered an ad that said adjunct instructor. So I thought, just a couple of days a week, I dipped my toe into it. I walked in the school. It was brand new. There was nothing there. And they said, we're going to put you in charge of the program.
Okay, all right.
So, trial by fire. And they introduced me to my mentor teacher, Mr. Todd Hamilton.
Aww.
That's right. Todd was my mentor teacher, and we became great friends. And it was a for-profit college. So it ended up, I stayed there for 4 years, and the campus ended up getting shut down after the Obama administration did a lot of tightening up on for-profit colleges. And rightfully so, it should have been. For-profit colleges are a great option, but they tend to be a little exploitative of folks that are in communities, I'll say in vulnerable communities. Say about that. I went back to the hospital, and at that point, I kind of leveled up my career, and I went from being a surgical technologist to an assistant. And that's literally what that is. I went through a program out of Nashville, Tennessee, where I learned how to assist the surgeons in their surgeries, doing the surgeries with them. So I did orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, that's brain and spine, and then labor and delivery. And I had a company with another individual, started a surgical assisting company. And I enjoyed it. It was not bad work, but it wasn't the classroom. It wasn't the teaching. Like, I had gotten the teaching into my blood, And I liked what I was doing when I was teaching. I could have stayed a surgical technologist and a surgical assistant, but it wouldn't have been my passion.
Yeah.
And Mr. Hamilton and I had remained friends, and we always talked about, oh man, I really miss the students. I really miss teaching. He went back to the emergency room. And I found out about a program here in Austin, Austin Master Workforce Plan, where they were looking for folks who would help in skilled trade areas, healthcare, IT, that type of thing. And they were giving grants for folks who could contribute to that. And I always tell the story. I said, I sat down at Mr. Hamilton's table and we had a glass of iced tea. And we discussed it and we decided, yeah, we'll apply, we'll do it. Let's see what happens, And they accepted our proposal. And then we had to do it. We had to do it, but I was really happy because we were back in the saddle again. And I had Carter, and I was working a lot of hours during the time that I was a surgical assistant. And I missed a lot of the first couple of years of Carter's life. I missed a lot of that because I was working in the OR all day, 12, 13 hours. And I come home and he's either been at home with my mom or my husband, and he doesn't even know me. My son didn't know me. And I said, the application for the school got granted around the same time that I started thinking about, I need to do something different here because I have this child and I'm working and I'm making a lot of money, but my kid doesn't know me.
Yeah.
I had to make that decision in my head. So we started the school and we worked, and you want to talk about stuff. I had one investor for Todd and I, and we had to do all the work ourselves. He worked overnights. I was working overnight, still at the hospital so I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to get the money from the investor to get the school, all the credentialing and the licensing and that, and I was still working overnight. And I felt like I was stuck. I was like, this school is never gonna open. But we had someone from the Susan and Michael Dell Foundation contact us and said, we heard about what you're trying to do. We're very interested in discussing this with you. And they came over and sat down and talked to us at the building. And they said, we want to help you with this. We want to give you some grant money for this. We got the last grant that they were offering. That was in 2019. We got the very last one that they were offering for the year. Yeah, it was like the 18th or 19th of December, and the grant year was closing the 31st.
Jereka.
Yes.
You are like I have all these emotions coming up because you mentioned being in the OR and working there. I wanted to be a doctor, and then people told me, oh, it's too much school. Because I wanted, I like taking care of people. And then I was like, all right, then I'll be a nurse. And then I was fearful of people dying on me, like no lie. So I decided to be an x-ray tech. And I thought we were just imaging bones. Oh, you hurt your finger? Cool, we'll take an x-ray. And I see you shaking your head because you were in the OR, and they're like, we're gonna go to the OR. I was like, wait, I just started school. Why am I going to the OR? So when I met surgical tech, I was like, that's a position? Wait, you go to school for that? Like, there are so many resources out there, and you at a young age being positioned to watch this whole journey take place, and you to be kind of just in this situation with your father. And I send my love to you and your family, because I can't even imagine what that feels like. But you could have been stuck there, and you're like, oh, okay, so I see this, I can handle this. I want to help people. And you just kept making those decisions based off of how life presented itself, which is so inspiring and just dope. And you give me so much hope, because I will never forget when I stepped in that hospital and I was like, there are like 100 different jobs here that I didn't even know existed. And I was an instructor too. And I was a clinical coordinator. So when I'm reading your bio, I was like, oh my God, like you're just a soul of just opportunity and resources. So I want you to continue to share how you keep giving those resources to the people around you, So I'm not crying. So let me
That's
you
okay.
talk.
No, it is. It's very overwhelming. They put 47 minutes of about 48 hours of filming we did, where I had to stop several times and cry because I didn't really soak in toward the end what was happening and what was going on with me.
Yeah.
And how much this had come full circle. What you said about you didn't realize how many jobs there were. I had the same intention. I was going to school to be a doctor. Then I thought about being a nurse. And when I started going to the school going to the hospital with my dad, it was the exact same feeling. I went, wait a minute,
Yes.
there's a bunch of different jobs you can do in this hospital without having to do all of that.
Yes.
And it is particularly, that's the whole reason why I decided to do this, was because I said at the very beginning that we focus on students of color. That is a very, very true statement. Like we do a lot of hard focus on communities of color because these are the communities that people do not know about these jobs. They are good living wage jobs. You can buy a house, you can take your children on vacation, you can buy a vehicle, a brand new vehicle, and have a car payment. You don't have to buy one from the used car lot down the street. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are good middle class, well-paying jobs. And it's not a job, it's a career. Like you said, you can become an instructor, you can become a clinical coordinator, you can start your own surgical tech business. Like, there's all kinds of things that you can do. And I thought, nobody is telling these kids this.
Yes.
That when they're in this, when the high school counselors talk to them before they get ready to graduate, nobody's telling them this.
We are. We're doing it right.
Not enough of us.
Oh, it will be. It will be. It will be. Like, what you're doing is, thank you for mentioning that, because that is why we're here today, to highlight your experiences, your knowledge, your resources, your opportunities, and for me to give that platform for you to do that. So thank you for doing that. And I want you to share and dig deep into what resources and opportunities you're given, because I am Black and I want our voices to be shared with all of those of color. Because like you said, we are the minority.
So what we do is, when we started this school, we really started thinking about our experience that we had when we were teaching at the other campus. So many of our students would drop out. There was a high dropout rate, I'm not gonna lie to you. The nature of healthcare and these programs tend to do that if you don't have your ducks in a row when you start school. You have to have a support system. You can't be in poverty and go through these programs without some help. You can't. You just can't. So we tried to be very intentional about thinking about helping with external stressors. Because I started teaching, I lost half of my first class because there was no childcare. Some of them needed food, no transportation, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So when we started thinking about this, and I think that was what made us so attractive to the Dell Foundation, because we address those things. We start talking about partnerships with the housing authority to help people, with the county and the city. We have a partnership with a food insecurity group here in town. They were just here this morning. They deliver meals 3 days a week to the students. And not only just for the students, we tell them how many people are in your household.
Yes.
So feed you, the kids, the husband, the grandma, and everybody else.
Yes.
Because it's hard to learn when you're hungry, and it's hard to learn when your children are pulling on your shirt saying, Mama, Daddy, I'm hungry. Yeah. And everybody's gonna stop and say, I gotta feed my kid. I gotta walk away from my homework right now.
Yeah.
We have partnerships with people to help with Capital Metro, that's our public transportation here, for bus passes and those type of things, for Lyft rides, for all those types of things. We're trying to be intentional about breaking down as many barriers, external barriers, to help folks get what they need to get. The best thing we've done in the last 6 months, we have worked with our St. David's hospital system here. They belong to the Hospital Corporation of America. And they gave us a grant because they asked us, what is your remaining need? I said, the students that are going in the longer term programs, your surgical tech, your pharmacy tech, your medical assistant, they have to do a multi-month externship. And for many of these folks, it's a 40-hour week. When I went to surgical tech school, it was 40 hours a week. I'm sure X-ray tech. And X-ray tech is not an easy program either. So they don't have the money to stop working and go to externship at the same time. So what we did is we wrote a grant that gave us some money to give the students stipends so that they don't have to work during their externship. Surgical tech externship is 4 months.
Wow.
Nobody can go 4 months without having money, without paying the bills.
No.
My mother had to take a loan on her house to help me get through surgical tech school when I had to go through my externship. I think that of all the things that I've done this year besides Queer Eye, I think that's the most significant thing, that I was able to help these kids get some money so that they can enjoy their practicum time. They can really soak in what they're learning, and they don't have to worry about, okay, I got to get out of externship, get in my car, drive 30 minutes, now I got to go to work an 8-hour shift job. And I don't have time to study. I got to squeeze in a couple of hours to study before I have to go back to class. And I did it. It's rough. Yeah. It is rough. It is not, and it takes a lot off of you. So I'm most proud of that this year. I think that we were able to secure the students some funds so that they can concentrate on their externship and being able to really concentrate and work on study time. We also give them, each program has a prep class that they can help get tutoring and whatnot to prepare them for their national certification or licensure program, whatever the program is.
Yeah.
But we just tried to be thoughtful of all of the things that we felt like, Todd and I sat and made a list of things that we felt like we needed to address before we even opened the campus. And I think that has made the difference in us and other folks that are here in town. What people say, what makes you special? We try to educate the whole student, and we try to make sure we take care of them while they're here with us. And I give them a speech every time we have orientation. I said, listen, we will call you. We will call your mother. We'll call your father. We're going to find you. Do not drop out of school. We have too many resources here to help you get through school so there's no reason for you to drop out. None whatsoever. We partner with a child care agency to help folks who need that care, that type of thing. I'm working on this year. That's what I'm working on. My focus is on child care this year. I'm hoping to get some money so that we can open our own child care center and do drop in and drop out for the students, so that they can drop in and do it, and not just while you're in class. If you need a couple hours to go home and study, bring that child in and let them stay here a couple hours and go home and study and come back. Because I used to have the kids come to class. I had coloring books and crayons and all kinds of stuff. And they were taking their final exam. I don't have my babysitter conked out on me today, that type of thing. I would let them sit in the classroom with them, and I would watch the kids while they were taking their final. I was that passionate about these kids getting what they needed so that they can get into a good job, because of all of the reasons that we talked about to begin with. These are too good a jobs for us to be passing up and not having our people get into some of these positions. So whatever it is I have to do, I have 3 people here who are instructors for me that are teaching now that were my students when I was in school. I hired all of them because I care that much about their commitment and professional growth and that type of thing. You have to. You can't work and you can't work with this population and not have that mentality.
My heart, y'all, you and Todd thought of so many different resources, aspects, and perspectives, because I don't have kids, because I know it's hard work. So you mentioning that on top of, I've never seen any of this demonstrated before, where an organization not only cares about me getting, quote unquote, the job done, meaning finishing school, but actually going to help me to do that. Not because I'm a certain somebody, I got a famous name, or I know such and such. It's just because I showed up. Mm-hmm. How dope is that? Like, my mind is just so blown. But Jereka, I hope you know, and I hope you're reminded every single day, every single moment that you are touched, you are gifted, and you're not hoarding that for yourself and you just spread it out. Just like right now, I feel so overjoyed of just the world is a better place because you are demonstrating what is possible. I didn't know that was possible. I knew some organizations that or some businesses offer those quote unquote incentives, but for a school to have that, we're already giving so much and providing that to the students of, no, you receive this and you don't have to give anything. All we need is for you to do is show up. That's it.
That's I tell them all the time. That's it. Every orientation, I say, all I need, your job is to come to school and get your education. All we need you to do is do your job by showing up and getting your education. We will help you with the rest of it. The child care piece was not something that I had necessarily thought about because my husband works for the Fed, so he works for the Fed. So they actually have a child care building that's down the street over here.
Oh, nice.
But Todd had a child when he was very young, when he was 18, 19 years old. And he raised him by himself and went to college and got a master's degree.
Wow.
And he really sat and talked with me about the child care piece because I was like, well, there's daycares everywhere. They can get in a daycare. He said, no, Hockaday. He calls me Hockaday. No, Hockaday, you don't understand. You don't understand how hard it is to be 18, 19 years old, trying to go to school, and the daycare is closed at this time, and da-da-da. Like, he walked through that whole process with me, and I went, oh, damn, I didn't think about it.
Well, no, you can cuss, and the funny thing is, shout out to Ty for being vulnerable and be like, no, you don't understand, because as you were talking, I started thinking about the students I taught way back when, and I would say I wasn't as understanding as I could have been now listening to your story. I'm like, so shout out to Top, but shout out to you for being like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And that is the power of us sharing our voices and our stories. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know if people don't share. So keep sharing, like, oh.
Yeah. He was very conscious of that. And I've never heard a Black man talk to me about taking care of his kids and going to school in that manner.
Yes.
I've never heard a Black man talk like that. He says, you got to listen because this is what you're going to be dealing with if you're going to be over, because he runs the front office operations of the school and I run the academic operation. And he said, if you're going to be dealing with academics and these students are going to be coming at you, this is what you're going to face with people who are single parents. I did it. I'm telling you, listen to what I'm telling you. And I sat and listened and I went, oh, okay, we got to figure this out. Figure this out. And we've done okay, but I'm starting to see that even the systems that we partner with the state agencies, because they have to be eligible for state supported services for the child care. And the list is this long. It's awful. It's 2-3 year wait.
Wow.
So this year I decided that's going to be my focus is the child care piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on us getting our own child care center and then putting it in for the eligibility for state services and prioritizing our students to the very top. So if they become eligible, we send them straight there.
Nice.
They don't have to sit in a line and wait. It can be done. And like you said, you don't know that it can't. You never heard of it. It's because people are not willing to try.
Yes.
They're not willing to try. They're not willing to do. We have a real problem here in Texas with our governmental officials. I hate the term public charge. They always say, oh, the person is a public charge. That means that they're taking state services.
I've never heard of that.
But we got to get these people off the welfare rolls because they're a public charge. Okay, if they are a public charge, which means that the taxpayers are paying for their lifestyle. This is the whole stereotypical talk that they do. So if that is the case, then what are you doing to alleviate these factors?
Yep.
What are you doing to provide funding to community colleges or to private entities like myself, private nonprofits that are saying, hey, we'll do the work, just give us the money to do it.
Yes.
I've proven that with the COVID clinic. There were so many things said in the very beginning. Well, Black people don't want to get vaccinated. Latinos don't want to get vaccinated. I started started that clinic because we have an interstate. The Interstate 35 runs right down the middle of Austin. It is so on the map. When you look at the population, it is so segregated, it is ridiculous. White wealthy live on the west side of Austin. Working class folks of color live on the east side. When they started opening testing and vaccinations, it was plentiful on the west side of Austin.
Wow.
I needed a test. I was trying to go somewhere to find a test. There was 3 places open in the east side of Austin. And we had people coming up from San Antonio trying to get into a clinic that was in the northeast part of town because there was nothing out there.
Wow.
And we opened the clinic, but it took me, let's see, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. It took me 8 months. I proposed this clinic in March, right when the pandemic started. We didn't get the funding from the city until September to do it.
Wow.
How many lives did we lose to COVID unnecessarily because we didn't have that service for those 8 months? I'm very proud of the work that we did, but it shouldn't have taken that long to convince people. And they're hesitant. You can't talk about vaccine hesitancy or testing hesitancy unless you talk about access.
Yes.
We have an absolute medical and health food desert. And I would tell people that. Don't come to me talking to me about hesitancy if you don't have a plan where people have access.
Yes.
If you have access, if the community, if you can say to me that every single person, man, woman, and child in Eastern Travis County can go somewhere and get a COVID test or vaccination without any barrier and without any wait, then we can start talking about hesitancy. But until you get to the point that you can say that, you can't even start the conversation about hesitancy.
Yeah.
And when they finally opened, they said, okay, we'll give you, they test you. We'll give you a little bit of money right now and see if you can handle that. Every matrix that they said that we were lacking in the county, race, ethnicity, income, all of it, we blew it out of the water. Every single time. The first one we did, let me see, that was vaccination. We started with the testing. They had given us a count of 80 patients a day to do. We were running 200 to 300 patients a day just in testing alone. When they started the vaccine, they gave us the same metric. The first day that Todd and I ran, we had 2 sites. We had one at the clinic and one in another part of town that's heavily African American. We had 1,200 people.
Wow. I got chills.
And it hasn't stopped. It has been steady and it has never gone down because people see somebody that looks like them. It's in their neighborhood. They don't have to get on the bus and ride 3 hours to the other side of town. It's everything that they wanted. And then we started having folks partner with community organizations. They would have food. They would have water. They would have all kinds of things. When we had the winter storm here in Texas where everything was black. We passed out after the lights turned back on. We passed out water. And we were here and we said, listen, y'all have been locked up in a house for 5 days. You don't know whether you've been exposed to COVID or not. We gave them a free test. When they come and get their food bags and their water, we gave them a free test. If you try it, the reason why people say it can't be done is because they're not willing to do the work to try.
Yes. And not require people to check stupid boxes in order to just be treated as a damn human. That's what I'm hearing. Like,
that's right. I don't ask for any IDs. I don't check any boxes. We just did an event last week with one of the other Queer Eye heroes, and I knew him. I didn't know he was going to be on Queer Eye, but he works with the homeless population. We just went out into a homeless encampment, and they told us, "Oh, well, we don't know if y'all should be doing the experts, the people who tell me they're the experts."
Wow.
We don't know if you should be doing that population. They tend to be non-trusting, blah blah blah.
Oh man.
This particular encampment was high African American population. We only took about 20 or 25 vaccines just to see, just to see. We used every one of them. Every one of them.
We have got to keep saying this to people who are not aware. I'm noticing that people think if they're able to put labels on other people, like, well, those people we're all the same. Mm-hmm. So any one of us can be in that situation, and there's no looking down on that person. They're a human. Like the bottom line is we are humans. That's it. That's it. The money doesn't define you. Your title doesn't define you. Your neighborhood doesn't define you. You're not better than me because you have more money than me. You're not better than me because your skin is lighter than mine. You're not worthy of more. F that. I deserve all of that as well.
That's exactly right. And that was what there was a clip where Jonathan was saying that he was glad that Austin had me because what I was doing was such a great thing. And I said, what they cut out of my whole sentence was, there's no reason to praise me. I'm treating people like they're supposed to be treated.
Correct.
The fact that I'm glad that you all highlighted me, but the fact that you have to highlight people on national TV for treating folks like humans, myself and Chris and the other lady that does her name is escaping me right now, that works with the disabled animals. Like, we are being human. We should not be you should not be highlighting people for doing what you're supposed to be doing for other people. I'm glad for the exposure. I hope that folks will look at the Queer Eye episodes with myself and Chris, Jamie, that was her name. Mm-hmm. Jamie, and say, okay, well, if they can do it, then I can do it.
Yes.
Because the only way we're going to get out of not only the pandemic, but the economic inequality situation that we have in this country is we're going to have to start treating people like they need to be treated like humans. What we are doing should be the norm, not the exception.
Yes.
Period.
You killed that. Like, I don't even want to, and that is why I'm so thankful that you were here, so that people can hear that and be like, oh, and kind of check themselves. Even with the single parent going to school, I don't know that life. But as soon as you start telling the story, I put myself in that story. So when people are listening back to put yourself in the story.
Right. That's right.
That's it. There is no, oh man, I messed up and now I'm homeless. Things happen. Life happens. And some of it is not our mother effing fault. It just happens. You don't deserve to be less than. You don't deserve not to have the same resources. So please run this back. If you didn't do it the first time, listen to this story, listen to Jereka's words, listen to all that you're doing, because it just makes me check myself and want to do better.
That's right.
That's it.
We do a ton of work with our staff and our faculty on understanding, being in other people's shoes. We call it servant leadership. Kind of servant leadership was what I did my dissertation on.
Ooh.
I didn't even know it was a thing until I started looking into it and studying it. And I was like, wait a minute, this has been around for a long time. I've been practicing this a long time. Well, this is gonna be easy this time.
Nice.
So we do a ton of work. I personally do that. I do all the trainings on servant leadership and how to do it. I take these folks through scenarios and working with students and helping them understand there's a different way that you talk to these folks. There's a different way you treat these folks. We don't sit them in front of a student by themselves until we've seen ourselves. I do a lot of coaching and that type of thing with them.
Nice.
Because any little thing that you say to these people, it'll trigger them, they'll run.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to make sure, because they've been exploited so much, that they're not trusting. As well, they shouldn't be. Because they've been exploited too much. So we do a lot of that. Step into their shoes. Listen to understand what's happening. Listen first. I tell them, I said, we have 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth by proportion, and there's a reason why. You need to be doing more listening and watching than you do talking. Don't open your mouth until you hear what the student is really telling you, and listen, because you got to peel back that onion. They're going to give you all the surface stuff, but you got to listen for what's really going on. When you listen for what's really going on, then you can help the student.
Yeah.
We do so much of that here with them. And I'm not saying that everybody that we started with is still here.
Yeah.
They're not. This is not the type of work that you can do and check in at 9 o'clock and check out at 5. You can't. You can't. It has to be in your soul. It has to be in your blood. And you have to want to do this work. And I tell them all the time, if it's not for you, it's okay. We'll give you a glowing recommendation where you can go somewhere else that fits more of what you want to do. And that's not being a smart or anything like that. It's just, this is a particular type of work. It's a particular type of person that can do it. And I am very much about poor people have dignity too. If you cannot be in a job where you don't see that they have dignity and worth and wealth and self-esteem and work on that, you can't be here. It is what it is. You just can't be here. It's not for you.
And you're doing yourself a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing the students a disservice.
Yeah.
I would say to you that if you are thinking about doing, anybody, that's you or anybody out that's listening to the podcast, if you are thinking about doing this work, think about what's inside of here first, and think about making sure that you are okay before you sit down in front of them. Because not only are they mistrusted, they're very keen on seeing fakery.
Yes.
If they see that you are fake and you're not authentic, they can I think they can sniff it out all the time.
Yep.
Because this work takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of heart. Yeah. And if you don't have it for the students, if you don't have it for your clients, whatever service that you're working in, you won't last very long at all.
I love that. And we could keep talking, Jereka. I really thank you for your light and your knowledge and your energy and your experiences. Like, I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you understand like how much this is going to help a lot of people. And I want them to be able to help you and help your cause as well. How can people reach out to you? And what can we do to help support everything that you're doing in East Austin for Black, Indigenous, people of color, those who deserve all of this shit and more, and will receive all of this and more. So go ahead and give it.
So we have a donation area on our webpage. That's CTAHI, Central Texas Allied Health Institute. That's our moniker.org. We have a donation page on there. I really would encourage folks to donate because we lost our funding in September from the city. So we've been running on pure donation funds in order to keep that clinic open. And we've done it also through taking some of our money out of our campus budget in order to keep it open. Because we just didn't want to, we didn't want to see that close. That clinic has become a staple in the community. And I'm trying to figure out a way to keep it open even after the pandemic is over. Because when we find a place that's comfortable for us, and I'm saying all people of color, all people that are in poverty, we want to stay, we want to keep going. Those are familiar faces, those are faces that we trust. Yeah. And I have several of the staff over there were students that are here that went through one of our programs here, and we hired them into the clinic. And 3 of the young ladies have been with us. They were in our very first class last month, 2 Marches ago, and they've been working in that clinic. And they were the 2 young ladies that were sitting in the car that said thank you to me, Sandra and Chelsea. Those are my girls.
Yeah,
they were in our very first class, and they have run that clinic effortlessly. They've done such a great job. So I would say we really need some funding in order to keep the clinic open and continue our operations, because we are a nonprofit. We're not, we don't have a portfolio. We're not for profit with a rich daddy portfolio. We are a nonprofit, and we're working on donations. It was a disappointment for us to lose our funding from the city because it did allow us to do some pretty expansive work into the community, and we've had to scale back quite a bit because of the fact that we lost that funding. And I would love to be able to do that again. So if you go on the website, there's it says Neighbors for Neighbors on it, campaign, and you can just click on it and make your donation.
And we will. And I thank you, Jereka, so much. And everyone has gotten something from this. And I want that to be reciprocated by donating to not only what you are each doing, but the community, the human dignity and decency. And it's more to it. So if you felt the energy, give that shit back by donating whatever you can and share with other people so they can donate. Doesn't have to always come for just you, but Jereka, I am so humble, so thankful, so happy. And I got your number, so I might text you here and there just to check up on you. Okay. I thank you so much, and I can't wait to share this with everybody. And I hope you have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Here in Crystaltown, we understand the importance of the things we think and say. So each Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast guest is asked to create their very own Unstuck affirmations. And if you feel inspired to create your own, please feel free to use this next part of the podcast as motivation. Since Jereka is extremely busy, she shared her affirmations while we recorded on Zoom. Enjoy!
2 things that I do to unstuck myself is spend time with my beautiful baby boy, Carter. I love him so much. He just got so much energy and he brings so much light to my life that when I get frustrated and just torn down, I look at him and I think, I'm doing all of this for you, baby, so you can continue your life. That's my thing. My other thing that I do is I have my 2 girlfriends that were on the show, Carly and Jane. I spend time with them because I've known them since I was 19. And we have been through so much together, deaf, children, divorce, all kinds of stuff. And we just spend time with each other, just talking, just getting it all out over a glass of wine, maybe a bottle of wine, maybe 2 bottles of wine. Because you have to have the human connection. Even when I'm doing human work, I need to have human time for myself.
Yes.
And I'm definitely learning that from my episode. And being okay with stepping back and turning the phone off and spending time with those who fill my well back up, because my well can get very empty sometimes. So I had a therapist tell me once, never, ever, ever let anybody take all the water out of your well. And when you feel like your well is getting low, fill it back up, because nobody else is going to fill it up for you.
Yes.
Those are the 2 ways that I get unstuck.
Thank you, Jereka. And your face lit up when you were saying those affirmations. So you believe in your body and soul believes it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I hope you have a good week. And I'll keep you posted.
I am in awe of this woman who, at the age of 16, lost her father, which is no doubt a life-changing event, but to then recognize and acknowledge the physical, emotional, and psychological toll it can bring on the medical staff members that helped to take care of her father and their family during that journey is no doubt a calling for Jereka that she graciously stepped into. Here are today's Unstuck questions and gems that were shared. Number 1. Never underestimate what can be created over a glass of iced tea and a dose of dedication with 2 scoops of passion. The 2 scoops are Jereka and Todd. Number 2, how passionate are you about your craft? Are you willing to create, sacrifice, and adjust for the betterment of others using your services, knowledge, or time? Think on that. Number 3, even when your will and your work ethics are tested, know that you can still blow that ish out the water. Be bold and stand in what you know to be true of you and for you. Number 4, we are all connected. Remember that. We can easily have challenges and setbacks bestowed upon us that will shift our perspectives real quick. Stay humble and grateful. Number 5, when you are working with students, clients, or customers, be sure to check your fakery, because that could be sniffed out miles and miles away. If you don't have courage or heart, you won't last very long. Since September 2021, Jereka and her team have been operating their clinic off of pure donations. So please stop what you're doing right now and click the link in the description of this current episode. Even if this is 2 weeks or a month after it was released, if you need to click the link right now to remind yourself to donate later, do that right now. Click the link. Also, share this episode to 3 peeps that you know love to donate and help others who are doing the work that some of us just were not called to do, but we still see the value in it. Cheer them on in a way that will allow them to answer that calling and be a support system for their community. And be sure you're following and supporting Jereka on Instagram at Jereka Thomas-Hockaday. Also, the link to donate is in the show notes. Their website is ctahi.org. And make sure you are following on Instagram community.health.allied for more information and updates of how Jereka and her team are changing lives and supporting their community in East Austin, Texas. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, rate, leave a review of this podcast to boost and highlight the work we are putting in together to raise the energy of others, build a safe space to grow, and honor our voices and stories through it all. Sending you love and light through this mic. This is a new mic too, y'all. As you write your unstuck questions and gems to turn your actions into wins. Until then, stay unstuck. Bye!